Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We are inside of the Cafe Kubal studios, hanging out with you where sports meets life. You are watching worldwide on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /Wake Up Call DT. You're also hanging out with us on internet streaming radio all throughout the world on mixlr.com /Wake Up Call DT and on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage as well. We thank you all for tuning in and connecting with us. I am elated to have my guest here with me sharing screens. And this is the first time I've ever had the opportunity to welcome Ryenn Micaletti here onto the broadcast. And she has had her time in the world of collegiate athletics. And I'm so grateful and so proud and so happy to have her here when it comes to the sport of basketball, to not only have her as a guest on the show, but on the heels of her becoming the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator for women's basketball at the wonderful, wonderful home of St. Louis, where the Billikens call home. And those of you that didn't know this, I am a low-key Billiken supporter. So with that being said, Ryenn Micaletti, for the first time ever, welcome to Wake Up Call. And thank you for somehow answering a prayer that I didn't even know I didn't know. I mean, I know God hears them all, but I never thought in a million years that I would stumble across a Billiken. So thank you for achieving that check mark on my bingo card, and I'm happy to have you here. How are you?
I am doing well, and thank you for having me. This is nice to be on this show as I'm transitioning from Virginia to St. Louis, and it's a nice little breakup to everything going on. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm so happy to have you here. And I big time congratulations on the job. I mean, a few years ago, as I had told you off the air, I had been in St. Louis and the NCAA tournament was going on for the men's side of things. And, got to within the last decade or so, St. Louis had done well in the tournament and the logo caught on. And I told you that it reminded me of the Gummy Bears villains. And so that stuck with me. And then I'm down in St. Louis, and to get to the airport, we were coming by the arena in, St. Louis University. And as we came by it, it was lit up. And I just remember turning and looking at it going like, I have to come back here. I just felt like drawn to it. So I think it's so cool how small of a world it is that, one of my very close friends, Miss Gabby Holko, and that this is how we got to make this connection. So shout out to Gabby. And
shout out to Gabby.
So tell me about your relationship with Gabby, how to get started.
Oh my gosh. So we're from the same area in Western Pennsylvania. And we just had a lot of mutual friends through basketball. And that's kind of how we met each other and remained in contact. And then we both wanted to pursue coaching and things like that. So it was just kind of luck of the draw becoming friends with her through mutual friends.
And so when you are kind of like connecting with people and building these bridges, another thing we talked about off the air, what have you learned about the importance of that, the importance of relationships, the importance of building bridges but never destroying bridges, that you may not walk down that bridge again, there's certain bridges we don't walk down, but that you're constantly building and creating and not dismantling, and how important it is to build connections in the world. And whether or not it's somebody that you talk to more than once, or it's, someone who's your best friend, or you end up marrying, or, you talk to every single week as a mentor, bridges are extremely important. And obviously Gabby's one of those bridges. So what can you say about the importance of a bridge?
Well, my entire life, before I even realized that I was going to go into coaching, I have thrived on relationships. With all people. It did not matter if you played a role in my, daily life, or if I was passing you in the grocery store, or anything like that. It didn't matter to me. I think you can learn something from everybody in any capacity, whether it's something you should be doing or something you should not be doing. You can learn.
Yeah.
And so throughout my career, I mean, this is going into, 11 years in coaching. Relationships are what got me to where I'm at right now. Yes, I work hard. Yes, I love the game of basketball. But if it wasn't for investing in the relationships with people that I've loved and respected, I would not be sitting here. I mean, I'm right now, the head coach that hired me, Rebecca Tillett, she's an amazing person, but she's also one of my closest friends in the world.
Yeah.
And this is now my fourth school with her. And it's just how it all shakes out, and just Gabby putting us together. And Gabby, myself, and another coach, her name's Maeve Gallagher, and she's an assistant coach at Seton Hill University. And we're all from the same area.
Yeah.
And so we were close friends that way. And Maeve ended up at Seton Hill, one, because she applied, and yeah, she works hard, but that's my alma mater. So when the head coach called me, like, hey, what do you think about Maeve? I was able to say, like, this is a terrific person. You should hire her. And it's just all those little connections. It's not always region based, but they matter. Relationships matter more than anything else, especially in this business.
Yeah. I mean, and I think, and I've definitely learned this. I mean, this world, the world is small, but the sports world is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible when people talk about, like 6 degrees of separation. I'm like, in my life, I feel like it's like 1 or 3, it's like, you feel like everybody, because you do an interview with somebody, and then it's like somebody in New York, Washington, Florida, and Texas are all like, oh, I worked with him. And I'm like, how? But they, like, some of them were in the same play, like you were talking about. And, it's crazy. There's a coach that I talked to years ago, Lee Ross, when she was the softball head coach at Syracuse. And she's like, oh, when I was at Bowling Green, Urban Meyer was next door to me, and he was coaching at Bowling Green. And that's such a long time ago. And then he goes on to Florida and Ohio State. Well, I end up interviewing Urban Meyer last season in Jacksonville.
Get out.
So it's like, here's Lee Ross working with him over a decade ago. Then Lee and I meet. And then I end up meeting Urban, and it all is like this cyclical thing amongst the three of us. And it's just crazy how the connections are made. I meet Lee in Syracuse, I meet him in Jacksonville, but they both work together at Bowling Green. So, I mean, it's crazy how this sports world works. And you made mention of the fact that this is your 4th school with Rebecca Tillett, and who's the head coach now at St. Louis. What can you say to that effect? That where she goes, you're with her, and just the, talking about networking and connections. Not only is this opportunity, I mean, it's one thing to have a coach call you one time, but when you have a coach call you so many times, I mean, that obviously tells you that you're on a very, very tiny, it may just be you and one other person, or just you list, that somebody genuinely is saying, hey, when I get a job, like, you're one of my first phone calls, if not my first phone call.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny how so the first school we met at was the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, Division II, great program. The head coach was Tom McConnell, who, I mean, his family, himself, like they are basketball royalty in Western Pennsylvania. Yeah. And that was her. So she was hired as an assistant then, and so was I. And that was her first college job. She was a high school coach forever. Very well respected in Virginia, won a ton of championships. That's her first college job. And I had been coaching in college for 2 years prior to that at Point Park, small school in Pittsburgh. It was, NAIA.
Yeah.
Yes. NAIA back then. So anyways, we both get hired at the same time, and we knew immediately. It's like one of those weird things, like, when there's love at first sight. Okay, it wasn't love at first sight, because it's not like that, but it was like, you're it, like, we're gonna make this work, and we're gonna do some special things together. Anyways, so right after that, we stayed in touch. She was gonna go coach at high school right after a year at IUP, because she wanted to be closer to family. I went to coach at Slippery Rock, which was a rival of IUP, but that was closer to my hometown as well, because I'm like, when am I ever going to get to be near Newcastle, Pennsylvania? Probably never again as of right now.
Yeah.
Anyways, she ends up getting hired at Navy. I do my time in Slippery Rock, a position opens. she calls me right away, Ryenn, you have to come work with me at the Naval Academy. And I'm like, heck no. I am good. I'm living the dream of Slippery Rock. I get home cooked meals,
Yeah.
get to see my mom, all that. And she's like, no, like, you have to do this. Just appease me. Send the coach an email. Send the coach an email on like a Thursday. I had a flight for an interview on that next Tuesday. So they fly me there, get offered the job, and I go, and we had 2 great years there. She gets hired at Longwood. I spend 2 more years at Navy. Next thing you know, I'm at Longwood. Do some great things at Longwood. Then we go now here to St. Louis. But with all of that, like you're saying, like there is a short list of people that you're going to call, right? When you get an opportunity. For us, I would say it's the trust factor and the loyalty. And she has not only I've not only worked for her, she has worked alongside me.
Yeah.
So her being able to see me in both of those, from both of those perspectives, and me being able to see her from both of those perspectives. And we still have a great relationship to this day, says a lot. And I mean, I will, take the, what's it called? Fall on the sword for this.
Yeah.
For her basketball brain. That she is one of the greatest coaches in the country. And I will fall on my sword for that every day.
Why is it? What is it?
It's because she is a teacher at heart. And she is one of the best people I've ever met. And I'm not just saying that. I mean, to go to 4 schools with somebody, you better like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But seriously, she was a teacher forever, and she coached high school. So the way that she teaches the game, it makes it make sense. And to the point where, like, years ago when I used to watch her coach, I'm thinking, man, I wish somebody would have coached me like that, would have explained this read like that way, she's a rising star for sure, if not a star now, being from Longwood to St. Louis is a pretty big jump.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, and it's amazing to not only see her story, but to see the story of you both together. Like you said, that, and as she grows and as opportunities come about, and Rebecca Tillett, as she has risen and progressed in her career, that you've risen and progressed in yours as well. And that when that opportunity comes, like you said, in these different areas, and you get that phone call, hey, you got to come here with me. Hey, you got to come here with me. Hey, now I'm at St. Louis. Like, it's so amazing to see what she's doing. And it's even more amazing to know that you guys have been building together, so it's when you're a kid and I would have a bunch of Legos, I would 99.99999% of the time never do with the box set. I dump those Legos out and I would have that one flat piece that you can build on, you're like land, and I would just make stuff. And it's one thing to trust your mind and your goals and your plan and create something. But when you're sitting on the floor and you're creating this and nobody else may understand what it is, and then somebody comes over and looks at it and hands you that Lego and says, I think it'll go there good. And I think you should probably build up that a little bit more and use that color there. And you look at the other person and you're like, how do you get my vision? You guys are 2 kids loving a game that happen to be adults that are playing with big time Legos. This is pretty awesome.
I actually love that analogy. That was great. She better listen to this. We're playing with Legos, man.
Coach Tillett, get some Legos in the locker room. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yes, we're building stuff.
So having this opportunity for you went through your history and kind of read my mind, because I wanted to talk about your stops and where you've been. So I want to go back to when you were playing as a student athlete at Seton Hill, and what you were able to do there and what you took away from there, not just on the court, but also in the classroom, because you had a bachelor's degree in history and a secondary social studies teaching certification. So, and then you had a master's in curriculum and instruction from Point Park in 2016. And then you, in 2020, went even further with your diversity and inclusion certificate from Cornell University, which a lot of people in upstate New York obviously know very well. So speak to, your playing days and then to the academic side of things, because you continue to just gain certificates and keep challenging yourself all the way up to a couple of years ago in your most recent certificate. What has made you love studying and expanding your knowledge and wisdom? And then at the same time, what was it like for you to balance that in school?
Ooh, this is juicy. So as a player at Seton Hill, so the head coach that I played for, her name is Fern Labate, and she was Big East Coach of the Year prior to coming to Seton Hill. She coached at the University of Miami. She was a hurricane, okay? And she was there for I think 13 years. And like I said, they were in the Big East at that time, but they go to the ACC right after that. Anyways, she has a ton of accolades and she's a pioneer and a legend in the game. So she goes from Miami to Seton Hill, and we're her first little Division II stop, right? And our class was her first Division II class. And that was only her second year coaching Division II, but we were actually her players.
Yeah.
So once I got there, and she was so hard on us. Oh, I just thinking about it. Oh my God. Just some of the things she was having us do, it was incredible. And there were times I'm like, my body can't take this. I cannot run another mile. And my school was called Seton Hill. So it was literally up a hill. I mean, whole thing. Anyways, yeah. And she's riding her car next to us as we're running the mountain. You gotta go faster. She did talk like that. Anyways, but she challenged us in every capacity, mentally, emotionally, physically, but it made us better. She made us strong women from that. And I think between my class and the class ahead of me, there was probably 5 coaches in that class that do it now for, not necessarily for a living, but whether you're high school or college, there's 5 people in basketball.
Yeah.
But she also recruited people who were strong academically. So people who really, really cared about their grades. And I was like that prior to going to Seton Hill. And people always ask me, Ryenn, why history, right? It's boring. Who wants to learn dates and all that? But I don't view history that way. I view history like psychology. And it's okay, this war happened, got it, but why? What's the root of all this? Why were these decisions made? And we were talking about gas prices earlier and all that. Okay, but why?
Yeah.
And I am the type of person that really wants to know why a decision is made, or the root of how people act. How we talked a little bit earlier about there's some people who struggle out there, and they're not making the best decisions for the rest of, communities or whatever, your city, society. But why are they like that? What brought them to that space? And that is why history has always been a big part of, my life. So as a student athlete, my freshman year, we were transitioning NAIA to NCAA, but we were still the first Division II class, but barely played, didn't get any playing time.
Yeah.
I was freshman. And that taught me a lot, because I went from being one of the top guards where I was from, and then it's hold up, what? I'm not what do you mean? And I was playing behind a woman who was, I think, 2 or 3 years older than me, and she played for the Israeli national team. So she had a ton of experience, post high school level, compared to what I did. And that really impacted me because I was like facing this identity crisis.
Yeah.
And so I learned more from that experience than what do I want to say? I learned more from that experience, and it influences how I coach now more so than anything else as a student athlete.
And that's huge, and I think, and it just kind of hit me at 36 years old that adversity is the only way to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was like really frustrated one day, and I looked outside and I thought to myself, well, in order for a flower to blossom and to grow, it needs sun and rain. In order for people to grow, they need positivity, and that sunlight, and that goodness, and they also need the adversity. They need the rain, or else we don't grow. And it just made me think, like, a flower needs this one thing we don't like and this one thing we really do like, but then we see how beautiful the flower is, and why can we not see it in ourselves that we need to have the adversity with the goodness in order for us to blossom and grow into something?
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of hit me like, we have to have adversity. We have to have moments that command us to figure out who we are and how we're going to get out of a situation, and how we're going to understand and reflect. And are we going to be the bigger person? And when somebody tests us or does something to us and we don't understand it, or they question our character, or they attack us, or who we are, or what we look like, or how we speak, or whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
who are you going to be in that moment? And do you know who you are? Because if you don't know who you are, the world will tell you.
Exactly.
And when the world tells you who you are, it changes every day.
Mm-hmm.
But when you know who you are, you wake up and tell the world, hey, this is me. This is Ryenn Micaletti. This is Dan
Mm-hmm.
Tortora. When you don't know who you are, I wake up and today I'm Dan, tomorrow I'm Steve, then I'm Bob, then I'm Joe.
Yeah.
I might never be Dan again. And I think it's so important for us to understand what you said, that you didn't learn more than when you went through adversity, because we complain about it when we're going through it, but without adversity, I don't think any one of us realizes like the superpowers that we have. You have to break us to make us, so to speak, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, that is really what taught me how to coach. Like, how would I have coached myself through that? Because you can only put 5 players on the floor, and there's, what do you have, 12 to 15 on your roster?
Yeah.
How are you keeping it balanced? Emotionally, not necessarily on the floor. You can't play everybody. There's 40 minutes, and how are you going to divvy that up? But how are you going to coach the rest of them? So that is where I think that has been my strength. Building programs and finding ways to win championships is showing like you do have value every day, and you are just as important as the person who's scoring 18 a game, because somebody has to come to practice and guard that person who's dropping 18 a game. Yeah. So that has taught me a lot. And just, you were talking about the example of a flower, a beautiful flower grown with the seed. Where is that seed planted? In the ground, in the dark, right? Before it even starts to bloom. And then you have the sunshine and the rain, but initially it's the dark. And that is what has influenced my career.
That's a beautiful way to put it as well. Like, we are literally buried to rise. And, I have a strong faith, and my thing is, what I believe in more than anything is somebody that rose up out of that. And I tell people all the time, I just had a friend pass away, who's a coach, and Fred Reed.
I'm
And
sorry about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mhm.
And, I tell people it hit me because on the holidays, I always try to text as many people as I can, just shoot them a message. And normally I call rather than text, but I'm like, I know people are with their families, whatever. So let me just shoot them a quick text. And on Easter, it was like 10 o'clock at night. And for an hour, I just was texting as many people as I could remember, like, hey, I'm thinking of you, like happy
Mhm.
Easter. And it ended up being the last time that I heard from them.
Oh my gosh.
And then you find out like less than a month later that he passed away. And all of those friends that are connected with him and you, like we talked about the importance of that. And I texted one of the coaches and I was like, I love you all. And I hope you know that. And he said, we do know that. And we love you too.
Aw.
And being in that moment of reaching out and connecting with somebody when he passed, I said to myself, how do you get through this? And I just say it to myself all the time. I just pray to God and I say, dying, you destroyed our death. Rising, you restored our life.
Mm.
So, yeah, he died, but he's alive now.
Mhm.
And, I got to do my work so that when I do, I get to be alive again. And it just gives me peace that the people that pass on, if Jesus paved that way, then they're not dead. He's not dead. They're not gone. And my grandfather, I mean, a lot of my loved ones, but my grandfather, my Pop Cavino, who my mom said I'm a lot alike, slow to anger, romantic guy, loved making people laugh. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I don't think, I hold a tiny speck of a candle to him because he was, the best, both of my grandfathers. But they keep showing up and he keeps in this really big decision in my life. He keeps like, hey, I approve. I like
Mhm.
it. What's up? And it's like it was this thing that I was like thinking about doing, and then he showed up and he was like happy. And then a week or two later, like he shows up again. I go to the same place. I'm trying to figure things out, and I feel him again. I see him again.
Wow.
I just get him, and I'm like, so you're here? And he's like, yeah. And you feel that. And so, I think it's so imperative to remember how important it is to build those relationships and to call people up and to appreciate that adversity and appreciate, you know, I mean, I'm on this call with you right now. And right before we got on this call, I felt totally judged, totally disrespected and accused and just off the
Mm.
wall. Like if I saw a pig fly, I would have thought that made more sense than how somebody had spoken to me. And I saw my dad right after and I was talking about it and he looked at me and like 2 seconds, he just, I wasn't even done talking. He goes, let it go.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He goes, it's not you. He said, you're not that person. You know who
Mhm.
you are. This coach sounds crazy. And I'm like, yeah, dad, but I've done this for over 18 years and I've talked to all these people and I've never had somebody speak to me that way. And he goes, yeah. And he said, and if I were you, I'd never talk to that person again. And I just keep on
Mhm.
moving. But
Mhm.
I was like, what do you do, dad, when somebody, I said, my reputation, like that's important to me. I've built it my whole life. I'm nice to everybody. I never want to hurt anybody. I'm not perfect, but I sure as heck always want to see everybody succeed, show everybody love. I always let somebody on the show, never keep anybody off or anything like that. And he was like, yeah, and keep being who you are and understand that people know who you are. And this guy sounds like a joke. So let him be who he is. And maybe you were just the person that was in front of him at a time where he needed to yell and you just were there. But he was like, you know who you are, and this person doesn't. And it's the end of the conversation. So let's eat dinner. And then that was
Mhm.
it,
Mhm.
and it just hit me some kind of way. Like, how dare somebody not know you? But we live in a world all the time where people judge people they don't know. And you have to just know who you are at the end of the day because who's going to tell you better than you?
Exactly. And I can say that I've experienced something very similar to that before. And I wrestled. I'm like, my goodness, I've never had to deal with anything like this in my life. And it made me question myself. I'm not gonna lie, like you know who you are for a very long time, right? Yeah. And then somebody says something that kind of rocks your world. You're like, whoa. Yeah. And I wrestled with that for days, and then it hit me, just as you're saying, it's not you. This is the reality in which they are living in their experiences that they are having, and you happen to be there, right? You just happen to be there. And it's a test. So much of it is a test. And oh gosh, I really remember that. But what I do know is that time heals.
Yeah. And
you're gonna be okay. Like you said, you're a believer as well.
Yeah.
God knew that was gonna happen, and God knew that you were gonna struggle with it.
Yeah.
But he also knows that you're gonna be fine.
I was ready to like start doing that thing that you see in like movies and whatnot, where you kind of do that, like you're breathing, but you're like, you're like, woo, like you're just kind of walking, but you're like dancing when you're walking. You're like, woo, yeah. Like I was like, does he know who I am? Like, does he know? And everything inside of me was like, just smile.
Just take it. Take it.
Just say thank you so much for your opinion. And then you get in the car and you're like, tell Jesus about all, you know what I mean? And and I was like, you know what? But comedy is, and Gabby knows this, comedy is a paramount place in my life. And everything that I have been through has been creating my comedy my whole life. And it's creating this stand-up. And in the perfect words of my mother, she said, ain't nobody safe when you get up on that stage. I was like, hey, the good ones are safe. I said, the people that are going to show up and sit in the front row, they're the ones that know this is not about me. But those other people that I always tell people, I'm like, if you read a statement and you feel bad and it has nothing to say about you, that's an admission of guilt. You know what I mean? Like it, and it's so clear when that happens. But to me, it's like my comedy, and I'll never forget. And I'm way too light from the winter, but we are proudly Italian and Hispanic, and we get very, very, very dark, my family, and I love it. I love being in the sun. And so I was in the car, and it's important to tell you that this is not my proper hue, because I was down in Charlotte, and my driver was this really nice lady from Africa, and she's driving me, and we don't have Zaxby's up north.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, I was like, hey, I know you bring me to the hotel, but can you stop at Zaxby's? Because like I'm super hungry. Like I have to get Zaxby's when I'm in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Or like Florida, whatever, in the South. And so I'm just like I'm sitting in the back seat, just like, I was like, hey, I'm going to test a bunch of stuff on you because I want to see how a stranger would react to this comedy I'm thinking of. And I'm throwing things at her. And I told her, like, I really like Kevin Hart. And I feel like him and I have a lot of similarities in things we talk about, and like not liking scary movies, our reactions and stuff. And so she was laughing. And before she got me to the hotel, I was telling her these jokes and whatnot, and she laughed at everything except for one joke I told about Camden, New Jersey. But and I don't know why, because I don't think she's ever been there. But anyways, so I love you, Camden. I hope you're doing well. But she looked in the mirror, and we're in the Zaxby's drive-through, and she goes, you know what? She goes, you are my caramel Kevin Hart. And I went, I don't want to be called.
Oh my gosh.
That's it. That's all I want. I'm okay now. I'm okay.
Yes.
I hate it. So, but
oh my God, a caramel
Caramel Kevin Hart. Yeah.
Hart. That I might make that your contact in my phone.
I love that. Caramel Kevin Hart. I will take that all day. But that's the thing. I mean, life in the moment, you know, it affected you. In the moment, not playing affected you. In the moment, what that person said affected you. And we live in a world today where like social media was supposed to bring us together, and anything created in the world. And I tell people this, I said, you cannot tell me one thing that's been created in the world for good that somebody hasn't used for evil. And they said, prove it. And I said, okay, the toothpick. It's used to pick things up, clean your teeth, and you can poke somebody's eye with it. So social media was used to bring people together, to pick us up, and people use it to poke people's eyes with it.
Yep.
So in a world where everybody is always telling you who you are, you're a coach, you're a molder of minds. What is your advice to the people that are watching and listening on how to handle a world of social media where YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, so on and so forth, there's so many places where somebody is commenting on how you look, how you speak, what you do, how you do it. And we live in this really interesting world where the people that criticize you the most are the ones that could not even handle being criticized for a minute.
Yeah.
So what's your advice?
Well, I know it's easy. I mean, we're in our 30s, so I could say we know what it's like to not have the technology. So we had a clue who we were prior.
Yeah.
The upcoming generations, this is their lives. Like they're growing up like tablet in hand and all of that. So media kind of is telling them who they are. But my challenge to anybody is take a break.
Yeah.
Go and enjoy if you like to hike, if you like to paint, if you like to go skating, whatever it is, do it without your phone.
Yeah.
Go do things without being attached and see if you like them. And I also challenge people to write more, not necessarily type, but write. Pick up a pen and a piece of paper and write. And whether it's your thoughts, dreams, goals, and whatever reveals itself to you will help kind of tell you what you think of yourself, what you are capable of. And then you can use the media at hand and be like, oh, I wrote something about wanting to build. Well, let me look up things about building things or whatever your passion is. So I do think you can use media for good, but you have to choose that. You choose what you look at. And nobody can tell me differently. So, yeah.
And I think what were you going to say?
Oh, that's it. Just basically like you choose what that timeline looks like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great way to put it. I mean, you choose the information you take in. And that's another prayer to God. I say, God, help me to bounce off, help me to let those things that are not, help me to know when people are speaking to me, if it's your voice or if it's not. If it's not your voice, let it bounce off it. If it is your voice, put it on my timeline. And I think it's funny with social media that within the last few days, I was coming out of the movie theater and I went to go see Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. People should go see it. It lifts me up. It doesn't bring me down, but it confused me. But I have theories. It's all I know is I was excited that I needed to be held, but now I'm okay. So
but now you're okay.
I'm all right. I needed to be swaddled and now I'm all right. So I come out of the theater and there's an ice cream shop. And there's this girl, young girl. I mean, she's got to be, 14 years old. And she's right in front of my car. And she comes out of the ice cream shop and she goes to the side of the ice cream shop and she leans there with the ice cream. And then the girl's taking her picture and she's got to be the side view. And I wanted to yell out so bad. I was like, the ice cream is melting. Like
it's melting.
But that's what you said, where it's like, put your phone down and eat you're telling everybody how good the ice cream is, but by the time you get the right shot, the ice cream's gone.
It's gone. Just go and enjoy it.
Before, like, and that's like with any moment. right?
Mhm.
Treat the ice cream like a moment. By the time you enjoy the moment is gone,
Mhm.
right? You're
Mhm.
taking all these pictures and whatever of the fireworks. By the time you put your phone down, showing everybody what the fireworks look like, you didn't watch them. And then you take the phone down, and then the last one expands. And then
Yep.
you're like, well, now I got to go back and watch the video I just posted on Instagram, like
Mhm.
everybody else, to watch
Mhm.
the fireworks. So now I have to watch the fireworks like I'm 1,000 miles away when I was right here. Now I have to
Mhm.
be a fan of my own video because I didn't watch it.
And I got to get the views up.
Yeah. And my thing is like, you know what? Like, and I don't like that they say followers. I think they need to change it. I'm like, I'm following God. I don't want followers,
Yeah.
supporters, whatever the heck you want to call them,
Yeah.
but followers is not the right word.
I mean, Facebook got it right. Well, yeah, friends. Friends was good.
Yeah.
Add a friend. But then people started adding their enemies. So then that's a whole thing.
Yeah. And you start adding people, and then you get people sending you messages, and you're like, I have no idea who these people are.
Yeah.
And and you just kind of, usually I'm good with that, but I was at the New York State Fair one time, and these two people ran up to me. They knew my name, they knew where I was going to college, they knew what I was majoring in. I had no idea who they were.
Get out of here.
No idea.
So what happened?
So I just nodded and I said, thank you for your support. That was it.
Fans.
But this is my thing, and I tell people this all the time. I talk to people that I want to talk to.
Mhm.
I'm not going to be mean.
Yep.
So if you're with me and we're walking somewhere and I see somebody that I know and they're like, oh my God, Dan. And I go, hey, how you doing? And then we keep walking.
Yeah.
That's how you know.
Yeah, it's not your time. It's not their time.
Yeah. If I'm just like, if I, just, oh yeah. So that's my nice, and there's a coach I knew that used to do that all the time. If somebody he liked asked the question, he would answer it for 5 minutes. Somebody, same question, he would go, yep, we're excited. Next question. Because he didn't want to give it to them. It was his way of showing him, like, I know who you are. I know what you're about, and I'm not okay with it. And so there's a way to be nice in today's world, and there's a way to live within all of this virtual stuff. But I love that you said the pen, because I got them all over my studio. And I got asked if I was on a deserted island and I had food and like a means to stay alive, what would I bring with me? And every time I get asked the question, I always say that I would bring a pen and a pad, because nothing can ever take the place of that for me.
No. Just even the way you write, like, that is you. That it's so, I don't want to say it's your soul, but it's deep, that like that is your handwriting.
Yeah. So how do you, when we speak about knowing who you are and this is you and writing things down and developing things, how would you describe who you have become as a coach? And if we go back and we were to read the journal of Ryenn Micaletti, what did it look like then when you started coaching, and what does it look like now?
Ooh. When I started coaching, I would say I did not know the emotional take it would have on me, developing the relationships from coach to player, because I don't feel like I had that with every coach that I've ever played for.
Yeah.
So from then until now, that is what has changed, is me understanding the depth and the trust and the love and compassion that you develop with young people. So me at 22, I didn't see that. Yeah, I had fun with them. Yeah, I can help you decide your majors and all that type of stuff. But once it got into the nitty gritty of coaching, like, okay, they're struggling mentally this day, or they're coming off of injury and navigating that. And sometimes you're the only parent that they have. that is the biggest jump that I would say is a relational standpoint, not so much the game itself.
And for you to be with the Billikens, I mean, we've spoken about how your relationship with Rebecca has helped to get you here, and the fact that you have coached alongside each other, which is very unique. It's unique within a unique story that you've been alongside each other, and it hasn't been head coach to assistant coach. It's been both, kind of learning and growing together to what you are today. So I know you're in the transition from Virginia to, down in St. Louis, but what can you say about this new journey, and what has been your first impression of St. Louis?
Well, the school or the city?
Both.
Because the school, Saint Louis University is magic, man. When I first got there, and I was doing the interviews with the athletic directors and had a chance to walk the facility and walk the campus, and I'm like, how did nobody tell me about this? Like, this is legit. The practice facility, the arena, the seating, the lighting, the locker rooms, and on top of that, the people. More people stopped by into our offices to say, like, hi, how are you? If you need help with anything, I'm here. Like, how's it going? In my first week there, than I think in all of my years in coaching combined when I've transitioned to another institution. They're just really, really good people who care about their employees, and they want to do well. Like, they want championships and believe in that and take pride in St. Louis and the institution and the academics. Like, there's just so much pride with just, excellence in building community, educating, competing. And there's so much gratitude for the job that everybody's trying to do. And I'm very fortunate. I'm very, very fortunate. And there's a ton of stuff to do in St. Louis. So I'm really looking forward to that.
For this chapter of your life, with everything that you've seen and all the different levels that you've coached at, to be here, to be in the A10 and have this Division I opportunity to get here, did you think at this point in your life you would be at this place, and to have a team in such a, in my opinion, a great conference and a great place, great city, to have the A10, to have St. Louis, to be in a D1 women's basketball program? Did you see this at this point? Are you still like in this, oh my God, moment? I mean, where are you in the world of, because I told you, you put the shirt that you're wearing right now, you put that on me, I'd be laying in a pool, just smiling. I got the Billikens on. They're like, Dan,
Billiken.
There's a tornado. It'll stay in the water. It's fine. Don't worry about it. So, did you see this? Was this the plan? What was the plan? Where's everything at right now?
I think my plan evolved, but I can definitely say initially in my coaching career, I didn't have a plan. I just knew that I loved to coach and I loved basketball, and I was going to work hard. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. Even, I coached at the Naval Academy, loved my experience there. I've loved all of my experiences.
Yeah. And
the coaching job that came after one another, I never anticipated, ever. Now, when we did great things at Longwood, first conference championship, we made to the NCAA tournament, all that great stuff, we knew the calls would come. I think you're like, yeah, this is kind of monumental. Calls are going to come. But myself, I never really had a plan in this whole coaching business. It was just like, work your tail off and do what you love, and the doors will open. And that's how I live my life.
And seeing, like you said, just that you didn't have a plan initially, but you love doing it. You believe in yourself, doing things the right way. having that faith and that the doors will open. I mean, is that truly the ingredients to success? Faith, hope, passion, hard work. I mean, what would you put in that big pot if you're putting that stew together and telling somebody like this is how your dreams become a reality?
So you said faith.
Yeah.
Definitely that. I would say not only just loving yourself, but you have to love the people around you, and you have to pour into the people around you. And we talked about building connections and all of that at the beginning of this, but in my heart, in my like life philosophy, I don't feel that you can get anywhere great without loving the people around you. So that is a big dose of that in our little stew that we're making. Hard work, being willing to sacrifice sometimes, whether it's sleep, whether it's holidays, events, all of that. I think everybody does that in some capacity.
Yeah.
Like you're sacrificing something. So there are times that you have to make a decision, a conscious decision, to take the harder route, to do what's more difficult for a better result than the good result. I feel like I've done that a ton, but faith in pouring into others and wanting to work hard and be knowledgeable about like whatever it is that you're passionate about, whatever your craft is, those are the ingredients.
What would you say to somebody who cuts corners?
It could be better. You could do better. What cutting corners, like, have we all tried to maybe cut a corner in our lives? Yeah, nobody's perfect. None of us are perfect. But if you consistently cut corners, you're never going to know what you're truly capable of. And some people are okay with sitting with that. I'm one of those people who's not okay with sitting with that. I'm not a coulda, shoulda, woulda been person.
Yeah.
So
Ryenn Micaletti here with us and celebrating the opportunity now with the St. Louis Billikens Division I women's basketball program associate head coach and recruiting coordinator. We hear assistant coach and we hear associate head coach. What's the difference? How would you describe it?
I would describe when you're an assistant, you get your rules and responsibilities and everything that you got to do. The associate head coach, you take more of your view goes from here to now you're looking down at it. Like, okay, you got to do this. Okay, I can help with that before it even gets to the head coach. So it's just a little bit more of a supervisory role, and you're inclined to a little bit more information than you are as an assistant. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like for me, I still feel like an assistant. Like not so much in the way that we do things, but my grind hasn't changed. So
recruiting coordinator, self-explanatory, but the world of recruiting with NIL, woo! Transfer portal, the NCAA rewriting its constitution, just a few things going on besides basketball. How do you recruit in a world where the NCAA is trying to figure out who they are? Name, image, and likeness came about with no rules, no regulations, and really a million questions, no answers. And then the transfer portal opened up and it became a free-for-all that has also become musical chairs, and the music stops, and kids that were once recruited and had a place now are like 19 years old, don't have an education and don't have a school to go to. So there's positives of NIL, there's positives of the transfer portal, but there's also this other side of the dynamic that this creates within teams, within states, within the NCAA and divisions and everything. So how do you recruit in the world we live in today? I know I just asked you a 3-hour question, but go ahead.
So what I think most coaches have probably wrapped their heads around is that we don't have all the answers right now. That is the truth.
Yeah.
In regards to recruiting, it's understanding that more so now than ever, the players have the power.
Mm-hmm.
These recruits, that they are the ones with the power. And student athletes, like, all the power to them. Like, if you don't like the way things are going, you can do whatever you want. Just like coaches can leave when they, like, you know what, I signed that contract, but I think I'm going to resign. Coaches can do that too. The way we recruit, as in telling the truth and being genuine and developing relationships and not solely taking you based off of skill, but taking the quality of the person, those have not changed. That's the way that we've recruited since we've started recruiting, at least, Rebecca and I and our staff. What I feel that we're going to have to do more is show that, yes, you can go pro from St. Louis. Yes, you can get great NIL deals from St. Louis. Like, we have to basically, like, show me the money. Okay, we're going to show you the money. Like, these are all the opportunities that you have. And now for a lot of coaches, it's like, do you focus on retention, or do you just accept, what, people may enter the portal?
Yeah.
The way we do things, we want people to stay and stay and stay and stay. But the world we live in, like you talked about, there's a lot of all this going on. It's really loud right now with the amount of changes and things like that. But yeah, that's the way we do things.
Going through NIL,
Mm-hmm.
how involved do you want to be in the education of the student athletes when it comes to making money off their name, image, and likeness?
There is, the way St. Louis does it, there's an app.
Okay.
I forget the name of the app right now, but there is an app that kind of helps facilitate that. And we have, like, we're out of it. We know it exists, but the compliance regulations and all that stuff kind of go through this app. In regards to education, we stay up to date with the guidelines and the rules and all of that. And I think St. Louis does a great job of having our administration kind of tell us, like, hey, this is the most up-to-date news with NIL and all that. So stay on top of it. This is what your players are looking at. So that helps. When we were at Longwood, we actually had, do you know who Jordan Rooney is?
I don't know if I do.
He's the first personal brand coach in the NCAA. He was hired by Duquesne.
Okay.
So first one hired in the United States, were from the same hometown.
Yeah.
When name, image, and likeness started popping, I hit up Jordan. I'm like, Jordan, can you talk to our team about kind of like this personal branding and what your role is and all of this?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. So for us, it was finding resources to come in and speak to our women and say, like, this is what you can do. This is, look for this. These are red flags. So educational resources, because on our staff, we have 3 trained teachers on our staff. So like myself, Tillett was a teacher at one time. Coach Olmstead, she was a teacher at one time. So you have 3 teachers looking out for you and know the value of education. So that's where our role is just provide them with all the information as soon as possible.
Before we jump into our final piece, which is something I do on the show called Rapid Fire, which I know that we're going to have a lot of fun with, and it has nothing to do with sports. We're just going to throw a bunch of cool stuff out here. I have to ask you a 2-part question, and that being, first, how would you describe a Billiken to somebody who doesn't know, and share with everybody what you do on campus with the Billiken as one of the, or maybe the, kind of, celebratory appreciation of the school, because you have a Billiken on campus and there's a way that Billiken is honored. So how would you describe a Billiken to somebody that doesn't know, and share with us what you have there, because not every school, and it's frustrating, not every school has those things, right? Those traditions, those things that they all do, but you have a really cool one. I want you to share it.
Okay, so the Billiken, I would describe it as a mythological creature that represents good luck, and as we talked about earlier, the way that things ought to be. So it's just this little magical character. Now the tradition. So I didn't know this prior to getting there. So they have this little Billiken, and it's kind of almost Buddha-like the way its stomach, little tummy is. And when you see the Billiken statue, you just get to rub its tummy for good luck. And so that's anytime you walk past it, you give it a little touch. And I have done that every single time that I've walked past it thus far. I'm sure our staff has too. Yeah.
Have you had a little, I don't know, little more luck, little more positivity? Have you had moments where you did it and then something happened and you're like, is this for real? Did you have that moment?
Well, we did sign 2 recruits. So that I would say that's some good luck. So I'm going to keep rubbing that belly.
I love it. The Billiken. So with that being said, here with Ryenn Micaletti, myself, Dan Tortora, we are here with the associate head coach as well as recruiting coordinator for the women's basketball team with Saint Louis University, the Billikens, and we're into rapid fire. 3 questions apiece. We have no idea what the person's going to ask. We're going to go back and forth here. And it can be about anything. We have to answer it because we are on audio and video here. So we could pretend that the screen, but it didn't. So I'm going to let you go first. I'll defer to you. You can ask me the first question.
All right. Why the show? Why'd you start the show?
I love telling stories. I love bringing people together. I love seeing people happy. I love making people laugh. I love letting people know that they're not alone. I love letting people know that they're heard, that they matter. So I've always loved sports. I have a photographic memory, collected cards, my whole life, would flip it onto the back, remember it, and want to talk to my parents about it. Was afraid of the dark growing up. Got a TV, 10 years old. I'm watching Sports Center at night to help me fall asleep. I'm waking up to it. Stuart Scott, a mentor. I said the best mentor that didn't know he was my mentor. Rich Eisen too with him. And so I grew up with sports being an avenue, and I realized I'm like, there's the news, which is typically negative. And then there's sports, which is like a break from all this stuff. And yeah, your team may lose and somebody might get suspended and something might happen, whatever. But it's a place where people go to get away. And I thought, why not use sports as a vehicle? Hence my tagline for WakeUpCall, where sports meets life. Why don't you use sports as the vehicle, but inside the vehicle, put humility, comedy, community, faith, positivity, throw it all in the car and use sports as your way to bridge to people. And once you're there, and once you park the car in front of their house, open up the door and give them all those gifts, and then go to the next house and give them all those gifts, and go down the road and 1,000 miles away and open that car door. And even if you're tired and it's middle of the night, say, hey, I know you guys might be hungry. Here's some stuff.
Gotcha.
And I envision the show as being a place, a sanctuary, help, a place where people would go to get something positive and good. And, honestly, a place for me to do God's work. I'm not, whatever anybody thinks of me, 0.00001% I'll take if I take that. And the rest of it goes to him. I'm just here to do God's work. I'm here to make him happy. I'm here to get home someday. I don't beat anybody over the head with that. It's just who I am. I love God. I love what I do. I get to do what I love and love what I do every single day. I don't work ever. And my company, I've worked with ESPN and Fox and Yahoo affiliates. My company, Dan Tortora Broadcast Media, turns 10 years old July of this year. And that to me is like, what do we like? What do we just do? So yeah, I love it. I love telling stories. I love people. And if I can make somebody laugh every single day and I can make them call their mom or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or their friend that they haven't talked to in 10 years or their old teacher or their dad, if I can get you to laugh, it's really what Jim Valvano said, laugh, think, and cry. If I can get you to laugh, if I can get you to make that phone call, and if I can get you to get on your knees and tell God thank you, then I did my job.
That's beautiful, man. I
So,
love that. That was beautiful.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you want to be in this world of being a coach? So to throw it back to you, why do what you do?
I want to offer the opportunity to young people to know that somebody's there for them. And somebody's going to love on them and support them and face adversity with them. And you're not alone. And I think because I struggled with that, when I was a young athlete, of thinking like I was by myself in some ways. And being as a coach, being able to say like, you're not doing this alone. We've all been there and done that. And I'm going to be riding this with you. I'm going to ride this wave with you. And that's the main reason why I do it, is just to pour into young people, this future generation, and hopefully that influences them to do the same thing. Because the more love and kindness and humility, service and grace that we have in this world, the better we will all be. And if I can help that just a smidge, that's what I want to do.
I love that, because paying it forward, I mean, it's the reality. If you look at people all around the world, that if one person helps another person, that eventually it comes all the way back around, and you get to feel like, oh my gosh, it worked. Like, holding that door open did something for them. And so I love that. I appreciate that very much. I'm happy that you're out there doing what you're doing, because the more love we got in this world, it is the more hope that I have in it. So that's a good thing.
Thank you.
Keep loving them up. You're giving us hope.
Yes. That's what I'm trying to do. Now it's my turn, right?
Yes.
Favorite Marvel character? You can only pick one.
Hang it. So, well, technically, if I pick this one, I'm picking both of them. So Spider-Man. Okay. And I love Venom. And Venom was created from first the symbiote bonding with Spider-Man and duplicating his powers. So I would have to say I love Venom and I love Spider-Man. Venom is the character that I have to play in movies when the world has high gas prices. And and Spider-Man is the guy that I can play in real life when, I realize that you can't be Venom in real life. But yeah, I love Spider-Man, and I'm not gonna lie about this. I literally I don't lie about anything. So I go like this, and randomly I'll do that. I'll be walking down the street. I'll be like downtown Syracuse, and I'll go, because one day I'm just like, what if God was like, you know what? Give it to him. Like he's done.
Let him have it.
I was like, let him have it. And I go like that, and the web shoots out. I just want 24 hours to be Spider-Man. And so that would be awesome.
Now, this is kind of a follow-up question based on this.
Yeah.
Did you watch Mortal Kombat at all? Like, did you play Mortal Kombat on the game? Scorpion?
So the cool thing about how we've bonded already, and I just think this is awesome. When we had to wear the masks, the way that like my eyes are and the way that I wore it, I put it on and I looked in the mirror and I went, I don't want to wear this However, I do look like Scorpion. I was like, I'm killing it as Scorpion right now. I feel this. I like it. So, and he was the one that I always was, because it was back B. It was an easy to do it on second.
Boom, boom. Yep.
It was back B. And so come here. So like that, and just seeing in the new movie, the storyline was horrible. I don't want to say the storyline. The storyline was not great. However, the power of Scorpion was incredible. And his fight scene with Sub-Zero, it's so cool.
I love it so much. I love Mortal Kombat. We could talk about that for a whole another hour.
Well, and this is something that you could appreciate off of that. PB&J's Lunchbox is one of the great local companies I work with here in Liverpool, New York. And working with PB&J's Lunchbox, they're known for their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly. And they put like roasted pecans in it. So they have the grape jelly one, they have the strawberry jelly one. So I created my own called the DT Melt, and it's grilled peanut butter and jelly with fluff with it as well.
Oh, okay. I love me some fluff.
So I said to I said to Pat Orr, one of the owners, I was like, Pat, think about it like this. And I literally said this. I said, this is how I describe my sandwich. I go, the grilled peanut butter and jelly with grape is like Scorpion. The one with strawberry is like Sub-Zero. And now that I brought the DT Melt in with fluff, it's like when Reptile got introduced.
Yes. Okay. Oh my gosh. You brought all three of them. I love it.
Yeah, so I was like, I got the Reptile sandwich. That's what I'm proud of.
Reptile.
So let's stay with food.
Okay.
You can have one breakfast item, one lunch, one dinner for the rest of your life, and you never get sick of it. What do you pick?
Breakfast item. I am going to go with, well, first time, does coffee count as a breakfast item?
Whatever you want it to be for breakfast.
Okay, coffee forever and ever and ever. I'm a huge coffee drinker, not decaf. Straight up, give me all the caffeine. Nitro brew, sure.
We got to get you some Cafe Kubal here, because we got some good coffee in the community here.
Oh my gosh. See, I need to be there. I need to go on a coffee tour.
You do.
So I love that.
Good stuff.
For lunch. So back where I'm from in Newcastle, Pennsylvania, there is a Middle Eastern restaurant called Mary's.
Okay.
And they have grape leaves. Have you ever had grape leaves?
Yes.
Okay. They serve them warm, and they make their own garlic sauce and the pepper sauce and all that. So that would be my lunch for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Dinner. This is really hard for me, because on Sundays I eat sauce, and I love spaghetti and all that stuff.
Sunday sauce. That's the Italian.
Yeah, like that's my thing. But I am a huge sushi fan too. So if I had to choose, this is so hard. This is like Venom and Spider-Man. I'm gonna go with sushi.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with sushi.
Is there a type of sushi?
I'm a spicy tempura person.
I had shrimp tempura, and they did it perfect. Like, I don't know how anybody else does it, but I went somewhere else after I got it there, and I wanted to like throw the plate. I was like, this is not tempura. And they had like all this sauce on it, and all this like the place I got it at is like big. I mean, I was so spoiled, and oh my God, so good. Shrimp tempura, really. We got a nice place here. I'll shout them out. Kodo. Awesome. Kodo.
I should write that down.
Yeah, write it down. It's a really good place. Half price sushi, middle of the day.
Oh yeah, come with it.
Get 4 different rolls for like $20 flat.
That's legit. That is a deal.
Very good. What's your last one for me?
Oh, last one. What do you want your legacy to be?
I've never been asked that question before. What do I want my legacy to be? I guess I've thought about it though. When I'm done, God, please help me get to at least 100. when I have a thing, my grandmother, my G mama, my mom's mom, I call her G mama, she lived to be almost 101. And I got her a Winnie the Pooh little picture thing with a quote on it. And I actually have it with me. And it says, if you live to be 100, I hope that I am 100 minus 1 day, so I never have to spend a day without you. And she cried when I gave it to her, and she rarely cried. Not that she wasn't emotional, very emotional, but she just didn't cry a lot. And so I would want to get to at least 100. So help me to get there. But I would say, because I've said this before, I said, when people are at my wake and my funeral, I want everybody there, whether they just met me or they know me for 80 years. I want everybody there to say, I don't know how he did it. He always worked hard. He was always going somewhere, always doing stuff. It looked like there was a million of him, but there was just one. And somehow, some way, he made every single one of us feel like we were the only people in the world. Because when he called us, he was there. And somehow he did a million things a day, but he was on the phone with me for 2 hours. And then somebody else like, yeah, but he talked to me that same day for 3 hours. Well, he came to my store. Well, he came and asked me about my mom. Well, he remembered this about my daughter. Well, he came to a funeral for my dad. And right after that funeral, he got on a plane. And when he got on the plane, he came in. I want everybody in that room to say, he made me feel like I was the only person in his life. That's my legacy.
See, you have some good answers. That was beautiful again. Somebody writing this down. It's our transcript.
My last one for you. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you are president of the United States, what are the first 3 actions that you take?
Ooh.
Gas prices. No,
yes, seriously.
Stop making eggs $2.
Education reform.
Yeah.
That would be first. Because I think, we've been doing 5 days a week, going to your classes and, the types of classes that we have. We've been doing that since the beginning of time, it feels like. Yeah. We got to look at that again. Because things are different now. So that would be first. Second, I've never thought about having all of this power. Student loans. I mean, thank God I don't have any student loans, but I think taking away student loans would give people a good start. Third, as president. This is hard because I people have their political views and I don't want to. Yeah. I would probably address the poverty crisis that we have here in the United States. I just don't think like people as blessed as we are and, the taxes and all the other things that are going on. I just don't think we should have people on the street. And with poverty, that has a lot to do with crime and things that goes on like that. So the judicial system, take a strong look at that and try and battle the systemic racism and other things that go on there. Those would be my top 3 priorities.
Well, Madam President, that would be a heck of a start. And I would be more than happy to help. So
you're on my cabinet. You're with me.
Let's do it. I'll bring good sushi to the meetings. And
every time.
Yes, every day. So with that being said, Ryenn Micaletti, the associate head coach and recruiting coordinator for women's basketball with the St. Louis Billikens, and of course for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. This has been a special brought to you here on Facebook.com, mixlr.com, and YouTube.com, all / Wake Up Call DT, and on WakeUpCallDT.com. Ryenn, this is our first conversation of hopefully many more.
Many more.
I'm honored. I really, honestly, I'm gonna time capsule this thing, and I'm gonna watch this on one of those days where it's raining around my flower, and I know I gotta grow.
Oh, let's see. Where's the transcript? Make sure somebody types our little conversation down, because there's quotes here, a lot from you.
A lot from you too. Thank you for everything, and let's get some Billiken gear in Central.
Yeah, I got you. Consider it done, and thank you.
Thank you for everything, and congratulations, and thank you for being a leader in our community. We need it.
All righty. Have a good one, Dan.
You too.
Thanks.